I'm Maria Schwartz alongside Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr Show, where it's all about the W. Ring the Liberty Bell. The Liberty are the last ones standing. We got a WNBA champion, so let's dive right in. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. That's patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our amazing staff's written content over at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. Excited to be back in the booth with the great Rachel Galligan, star of Big 12 TV or whatever it is. We'll get to that in a moment. I want to remind everyone we've partnered up with Homage to give away a WNBA team hoodie and t-shirt of your choosing. All you have to do is email aria@winsidr.com and share with us your favorite WNBA memory. This is your last call. This is the last episode we'll be doing the giveaway for. So you have basically until the end of the week to get it in. Last chance. Summer dance. All right, Rachel. First of all, congrats on the Big 12 job. That's exciting. I know people are very happy to see more of your face. We haven't seen enough of it. It should be plastered on every league. Let's just start off. Before we even get into the finals, what are you doing for Big 12?
It really, I'm not sure. No, I'm kidding. I was contacted by them later in the summer, just about wanting to have a voice, someone that could be an analyst, but also an insider, someone that could talk about it, someone that could, really dive into the league and help just amplify these women, amplify these teams, their stories. And I agree. I think it's needed when it comes to the Big 12 and some of the talent and obviously adding 4 teams from the Pac-12 to it. Like now is the time with just keeping up with everything that's going on in all these Power 4 conferences. And so first big thing, my first big debut was going to media day and being able to interview all 16 coaches, and a lot of the players was kind of my starting point. But throughout the course of the season, it's going to be just what I do: watching a ton of basketball, talking about it, helping to amplify the game and this league in particular. And so it's cool that the Big 12 and the coaches saw me in that light. Wanting just to amplify it to another level, get another voice that's just out here creating conversation, talking about, just the talent that's in this league in particular. So really unexpected for me. It wasn't something that I went and pursued. It's cool that, they felt the need to kind of have someone like that in that role. I mean, we see it, right? Like insiders or on the men's side, like a Fran Fraschilla who does a lot, with ESPN and just men's college hoops. So just kind of trying to model it after that. And there'll be, anything from radio shows to go into the tournament to visiting campuses and going to games. So it'll be a shift for me from just some of the winter on camera analyst work I do with, it's been Air Force and Denver, just kind of local stuff here these last few years. But really, I was thinking about it. I'm like, it doesn't really change much in terms of what I do. It's just basically what I always do: watch a lot of basketball and talk about it. So
yeah, but now you get paid.
Now it's like, okay, like someone sees value in that and someone wants to invest in me, and it just makes me want to work really hard for this league and for these incredible women and athletes. And so, yeah, I'm just excited for a new change. It's not a full-time thing. They're very aware of what I do with Winsidr. They're very aware of what I do from the international standpoint. And I think it all kind of fits well together in terms of just, again, the media side of what I do, talking about women's hoops and just trying to help it grow in any little way that I can, off any little platform I can. So it's cool to have that, have their support to try and accomplish that as well. So that was fun, trying to keep that kind of quiet for the last couple months while I figured out what that position looks like. And they're very much figuring it out as they're going too, because it's a whole new thing. So it'll be fun. You guys are going to hear a lot of me talking a lot of Big 12 hoops, but obviously it doesn't stop there. They want me to continue to talk about the WNBA. They want me to, anything that's going on in the women's college hoops game. We have a couple weeks now. So we got a couple weeks to kind of switch gears before we start the college basketball season. But I'm just excited. I'm excited to study this league, study these players, learn their stories more, and just help promote it.
I love it. I love it. I always love when they get good voices to continue to talk college basketball or women's basketball in general. Also, you and I have some exciting news we'll talk about later. College
Ooh.
basketball, doing live streams with Bleacher Report. We'll get to it later. More importantly, let's dive in. Let's dissect. We needed a few days. You were busy traveling, doing that Big 12 stuff. We wanted to let the emotions and everything simmer down from the finals before diving into this, Rachel.
I don't know that I could have done a show any sooner. It's taken a couple days to gather my thoughts and to come back down to earth after that game 5. So people might be like, oh man, it took him a minute to get something out of there. Yes, the big reason was because I was traveling, but I'm glad that we feel like I've been able to digest it a little bit. We had the parade today, and so yeah, we're ready. Let's give our reactions here 4 days later. I think
let's start.
It's time.
Should we start with kind of like New York Liberty champions? Congrats to them. JJ MVP. They were the best team throughout the whole season. Obviously, look, we're going to get into the controversy. Don't worry, folks. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes of what transpired throughout that game. And we can talk a little bit of the series, but I think let's start off first and foremost. It's October 24th, 25th when you're listening to this. And the New York Liberty, 28 years it took them. They got their first championship. We saw Maddie make a resurgence, the old mascot,
so cool.
in the parade. I love that. I really hope it was the same person from all those years that they brought him back. We saw former players be honored. I loved that they were doing that. That was really cool. New York really showed out on the parade. I'm going to be honest. I've been did a Bleacher Report stream prepping for that because it was a little bit out of my element doing a full-on mock draft by myself. So didn't pay as close attention to the parade as I always like to. But New York Liberty, the champions, this team was brought together by the mastermind, Jonathan Kobe, deserves a hat tip, did some amazing work, put together a super team that wins a championship. Your reflection kind of on New York as the champion, and then we'll dive into the game.
I mean, this is who I picked to win it. They were the number one team all season long. They were primed and ready to get back to this position after last year and losing into the finals. I always felt like this would be the natural progression, right? Is for this team to get back to the finals and now get over the hump. And so, stepping back and looking at the big picture, so excited for this franchise and the year that they had, the success that they had. I called New York in 5, so it makes me look really smart. The fact that they won it, it's crazy to me that, it's been all this time. One of the original OGs in the WNBA to win their first championship. What a special moment for all of us. For the organization. The coolest part from what I was able to see from it was a lot of the legends, the New York Liberty legends that were able to participate in the celebration as well. And you could see it. It was like everybody who has ever had a piece or touched that franchise one way or another, just the joy on their faces. And this was a championship for all of that. This is the championship the last, 28 years and everything that the New York Liberty have meant. And so I think, what a pivotal moment. It's so crazy after game 5, I was on Twitter as always, looking at like the Westchester games,
oh gosh,
remember I was like, oh my God,
the one bathroom stall, like community center games.
And there's like 4 rows of like bleachers up top. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, that literally feels like yesterday. We were watching the Liberty play up there. Who was it Dolan or whatever his name was, the owner?
Oh, yeah.
And just how, can you imagine if that franchise was still that way right now, how much heat they'd be getting for how far behind. And now, just talk about the complete resurgence of this entire franchise, going from that, which was completely embarrassing, a complete embarrassment across the board. Embarrassing for these women, embarrassing for anyone who played in that franchise, embarrassing for women's sports, not for women's sports, but just the lack of investment and just missed opportunity by the ownership at that time. What a joke. To now in this Joseph Tsai era and everything that has this franchise has turned into. It gives me chills to talk about. when it just takes, someone who believes and is willing to put their money where their mouth is, what you can do with an opportunity. And obviously you throw Jonathan Kolb in that scenario, and the way he has been such an absolute shark, through, whether it's through the draft or obviously through free agency. He deserves every bit of this and everything he's brought to the Liberty as well. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for, even Courtney Vandersloot getting another championship and accepting, whatever role it was after a tough season and everything she's gone through. Brianna Stewart and her legacy, even though, it was not the prettiest game 5 and for both teams in terms of offensively. Sabrina, it's just, I'm really happy for New York. I'm really happy for the overall franchise. It was time.
Shout out. Wait a second, Rachel. Shout out to the most amazing person aspect of the New York Liberty that we got to give love to. The one, the only former Winsidr staffer, Ben Dole. Shout out to Ben Dole. Winning
it's
a
cool.
ring.
It's cool. I don't know that the only thing, and now we can talk about the elephant in the room.
Oh my God. All right, let's get into it. Fine.
The only thing that just makes me kind of sad is like it happened the way it happened. Just like that final play. I wish we could just go back in time and like redo it. Obviously everyone is aware the final possession where Brianna Stewart got the ball, took it to the rim. Many believe she traveled, the foul call, the missed whatever, the review. Here's the thing. Okay. We'll talk about that play and all that here in a second and what that would have meant for the Lynx, because honestly, if that's called straight up and they're going back down, Minnesota's shooting free throws and they're probably champions right now. That's what this comes down to is that specific possession right there. Everybody knows it. If they call a no foul there, if they call a travel there, Minnesota's shooting free throws and they're champions. That's their 5th, right? It didn't play out that way, obviously. What I think what you have to say, and I remember as I was losing my freaking mind watching this game, as we all were, was like, okay, that's a wild finish. I can't believe they called that. I can't believe they reviewed that, and that's what happened. The Liberty went into overtime and they took control of the game. It was a 5-minute game at that point when you go to overtime, and so they were able to solidify it in free basketball and extra basketball. And there was no question, right? When they hit that first shot, it was like, they're taking this thing over. And so there is nothing that I am getting, you or me that are going to get ready to say that is ever trying to take anything away from the Liberty, because It's not their fault. That there's this kind of weird shadow over the way things went down. And we're going to be talking about that controversial play probably for a long time. At the end of the day, the Liberty took care of business. There's missed calls left and right. There's controversy in the game of basketball. It's, the refereeing in the WNBA in particular, is always a talking point. And so the luck was on their side, I guess, if you will, and they took care of business in that overtime. There was a 5-minute overtime gap, and the Liberty completely did what they needed to do. And from that standpoint, they deserve this championship. I'm excited for them. I'm happy for them. I hope that there hasn't been too much of a stain on this from their celebration standpoint or from how they feel specifically. But, it doesn't seem like it by just watching what I've been able to see from the celebration and everything. Everybody, feels like this is validated and it's legit. And obviously it is. I think it is. And I'm just happy for them. On the other end, I'm rambling. On the other end, you have the Minnesota Lynx.
No, let's before we get into Minnesota, let's be real. One, I think often when people view a game and there's a controversy, is you have to take the side of the Liberty, in this case, the Liberty or the Lynx. Liberty fans, first, it's not about the players versus the players, right?
No.
The controversy is the refereeing, is the officiating, is the league's system for officiating, for hiring the officials, and for, review calls and things like that. The Liberty won. The Liberty took care of business. The Liberty were in position to do it. I'm not going to sit here and go well, don't let it come down to a call, because now I normally do say that, but often it doesn't come down to literally one call with 1 second, like someone going up for the shot, call it, blah, 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 decides the game. The reason I push back against that in this instance is because of the review, because this was, and that's the part for me, for someone who's viewing it as someone who's very closely watched the W and called for better officiating for many, many years. I tweeted this out. A lot of Liberty fans, a lot of people who disagree or agree with the call, push back and say that's basketball. In Game 4, the Lynx only won because of a bad call. To me, that's just validating the idea.
What we're saying, right? What we're saying.
Exactly. We need better officiating. It doesn't matter where we get that from. The WNBA cannot continue to be, a G League to the G League. It can't continue to be a league that when someone fails at the NBA or the G League level, they are, bumped down because they're liked, but they aren't good enough for those leagues, so they're bumped down to the W. It can't be that. It can't be a stepping stone for somebody to get good enough to go to the NBA or the G League. That's not going to produce the best product for the W. And we saw that at the end of the day, the fact 3 days, 4 days later that we're discussing the refereeing, the officiating. I keep saying refereeing when I should just say officiating. The reason we're discussing that, or that's the stain on the league, right? And you and I were texting about this. In 10 years from now, no one's going to be discussing this. It will be brought up in heated over drink at bar debates between diehard WNBA fans, Lynx fans, or Liberty fans who get into it with each other. But it's not going to be, an asterisk on the Wikipedia article. It's not going to be an asterisk on the league website or on across the timeline, or, when people write about the Liberty getting their first championship 10 years from now, they're not going to say in that controversial game. The game came down to the last few moments. And if we want to forget about the controversial call, let's just talk about what happened in that game. I mean, the best players on New York looked bad. And so I think the frustration, and we're not going to get into the conspiracy theory, Rachel. We're going to address it because it has to be an element that is at least brought up for people.
I don't know how anyone who questions that, or anybody who I can't invalidate that. I mean, I'm like, what? I told you that as soon as that got done, I've never felt the way I felt. And I'm an unbiased. I had no dog in the fight here. I'm not a Minnesota homer. I'm not a Liberty diehard. I'm in here just watching it as an analyst, thinking, okay, I think the Liberty are going to take Game 5, but it's going to be a really tough series, blah, 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 blah. But that game got done, and I was just I've been sick to my stomach. I have been sick to my stomach for the last 4 days. And thank God I had the Big 12 media days to distract me. But just sick to my stomach because it was the first WNBA championship that I wasn't able to experience a lot of joy. I wasn't oh my God, this is so amazing for the Liberty. Man, my heart breaks for Minnesota. I was just what the hell just happened?
It felt like a very incomplete story, or an incomplete circle almost.
Just a bizarre ending to a historic season. And I do think it takes time, right, to kind of sift through those emotions for everybody, depending on whatever side you're on. But if anybody feels one type of way, if you think it was a missed whatever and it's rigged, hey, people have the right to feel however the hell they want to feel after something like that goes down. Kathy Engelbart's wearing a New York, dress.
Those are the things. That
deserves criticism. If people want to criticize it, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, because that ending was absolute mayhem in terms of just. I just wish it would have ended a different way. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I wish it would have ended a different way.
We're not sitting here saying, because Kathy's wearing a New York skyline dress at the ceremony, right? Because, they have a fame, Ruco, obviously, whatever. Lobo has connections to New York.
Lobo played there.
Lobo played there. And there was I'm not trying to throw shade at that. What I'm saying is, these are things, and the bad officiating, you combine all of that. The WNBA has never had this many eyes on it ever. There was over 3 million people watching that game, over 2 million at any given moment. It was historic. It was great. I loved it. The vibes were amazing. Obviously, I'm saying all of this being born and raised in Minnesota, the Lynx are the reason that I got into the W. I'm preface this.
Yeah.
It's a bad look for the league when that's the officiating that happens, okay? When New York gets to the free throw line to the amount they did in the ways that they did, and when Minnesota couldn't get to the free throw line, when Nafisa Collier doesn't get to the free throw line at all, given how she was shooting, where she was shooting, like all these things. I'm not saying, hey, I'm sitting here, it was a conspiracy theory. I don't believe that the league was calling the refs and saying, hey, let's do this, blah, blah, blah. I'm not giving into that. What I'm saying is when you have the combination of the officiating that we saw in the second half of that game, and I'm not the only one saying it. I'm talking about many NBA players, many people who cover the W, many talking heads. When you have the commissioner wearing a New York skyline dress, when you have all these things line up and it just looks bad for the league, and we need to do a better job.
And what do you expect people to think when it ends like that, when it ends in that manner, and it happened, it went down the way it went down. And that's what I'm saying. It almost, I don't know. It just felt, it was just bizarre. It was like an out of body experience.
Let me make one last comment before I just want to talk about a little bit of the play of the individuals in that game. But the thing that adds the cherry on the top of my frustration of this, as somebody who covers this league, respects the hell out of this league, wants this league to thrive, and thinks this league in a few years will be the main headline over the NBA. I've been saying that, but I truly believe that. The part that frustrates me is the lack of comment. Have some accountability, right? Put out some sort of a statement for whether it's Kathy acknowledging, hey, it was inappropriate of me to be wearing that outfit. Or maybe that's like a ridiculous thing to say, but acknowledge, because from my understanding, and maybe I'm wrong about this, if that was a regular season game and let's say the Lynx submitted the film to the league, there would then be a statement from the league or a response from the league, right? Or a PR statement or whatever. That's the part to me that's frustrating also, is like the way all these steps were just very much B-League to me. And then not putting out a statement acknowledging like, hey, this is what the correct officiating should have been in that position. Because right now you just have the fans sitting there listening to, she wasn't in a defensive position.
But the problem is, and why I keep telling you it's not going to happen, if you do that on that exact play, in that exact scenario, the Lynx are and you acknowledge that.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have a completely different champion right now. And that is what it comes down to. It's not like, and I'm normally not one of those like, oh man, those final, that play decided the game. I'll look at the whole body of work from that entire game. Oh man, look what we could have done better in the first half. We dug ourselves a hole the first quarter, whatever it might be. It was an ugly game across the board. Don't get me started on having to play, within one travel day, and should have been on Monday, shouldn't have been on Sunday, but hey, ratings and no NFL. Okay, I get it. But like the product on the floor offensively was one of the worst I've seen all season long, because probably legs and tired, but hey, sure, let's expand it to a 7-game series. Let's expand it to a 7-game series, even though that's what game 5 looked like. Sorry, let me get off my rant there. I don't even remember what I was talking about, but if you come out with a statement and you acknowledge, oh man, the review should have gone a different way, then you basically invalidate the fact that New York won a championship and the Lynx should have won it. That's what this scenario is. And that's why they cannot come out with a statement, because if it was a legal guarding position or if it was a missed travel call, Minnesota wins the championship. It's as simple as that. It's what it comes down to. So they cannot come out with a statement. They're not going to say anything. There might be some conversation behind closed doors, or I'm sure Cheryl Reeve is absolutely raising hell. However this shakes out, like nothing. I mean, like the New York Liberty won the championship, whether you like it, whether you don't, whether that last play makes you want to slam your head through the wall. Like it just is what it is. And I can't see the league or anybody making a statement about it, because if you do, you invalidate the Liberty's championship, which
Rachel,
in everyone's eyes.
No, I'm dying because throughout the whole playoffs, I don't know about everybody else, but the commercial I kept getting while watching the playoffs was that ad that's like, everybody says it is what it is. And you just said it. You're totally right. But you know what?
Let me just go on a rant real quick about Minnesota. My heart goes out to Minnesota. If you would have told me that the New York Liberty were going to shoot 30% in a game, and you would have had Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu go for 5 of 34, and that they would even have a chance in hell at winning that game, I would call you crazy.
2 for 23 from the 3-point line.
I mean, everything. It's just crazy. It's absolutely insane to me that game. I actually told you the other day, I said, I actually think I need to sit down and just rewatch this entire game from start to finish and really just let's watch the shot attempts from Nafisha Collier, and let's see, like, how do I really feel? Because I mean, in the moment you're watching it as a fan and you're just trying to enjoy the moment of this game 5. I want to go back and rewatch the entire thing and see how that sways my emotions of how the game was officiated and the lack of. I mean, Nafisa Collier's fouled out of 2 games in the last 2 years, and the last one was like May of 2023. So this was the first game she's fouled out of all season, and this was only the second time she's never shot a free throw. So like, I want to watch. I don't know that I can give you a correct analysis of how her shots were officiated and how kind of, how she was being played. That, I mean, it was such a physical series from start to finish. It blows my mind. She never got to the free throw line. But if you would have told me that New York would have played that bad offensively, I mean, everything points to her Minnesota should have won this thing. And so for it to come down to that final play, an illegal guarding position, and we all watched and have seen the photos. And I mean, it's like, seen the travel, a lot of missed things there, a lot of botched and missed things there. And so if you're a Minnesota fan and if you're a Minnesota player, I genuinely, my heart goes out to you. Everything that you're feeling, in my opinion, is validated. And I just kind of exist in this middle ground of like, it happened the way it happened. And, we're just trying to move on from it, I guess.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Obviously, like, I have that element of my heart, my hometown heart. But yeah, no, I'm with you on all that. I do want to give some love, some credit, first of all, to, even though first of all, love to John Cole Jones. Almost the craziest thing in that situation was like, that was the first time there was, in my opinion at least, that legit debate of like, who's winning Finals MVP?
Because JJ, because it was going to come down to Game 5, right? Whoever played well in Game 5 was going to get it.
Yep, and JJ did 5 for 10, 7 for 7, 6 rebounds, 17.
Very clearly.
It was that game. But I do want to give love to, we muddled around with the idea, and I think moving forward at Winsidr, we're going to do like take a page out of the Euro basketball, EuroLeague, FIBA, whatever book, and do like a starting 5 award for the playoffs. Who were the best 5 players of the playoffs? In my opinion, MVP of the playoffs, Nafisa Collier, first player ever to lead in points, blocks, rebounds, and steals, is just insane. Just a wild, and maybe, looking forward for Minnesota, I don't think it's a consolation or anything like that, because I don't know how you get over that moment. But you look at their starting 5, all of them are locked in for next year. And, I was chatting with someone, and someone was like, RA, I don't see them doing as good next year. But looking statistically, there's only 2 players on their starting 5 that actually had career years. And that was Fee and Bridget Carleton. So I fully kind of expect, Fee's going to come back similar to that Asia Wilson 4th place vote, which was just insane. Well, I don't know how she gets better because she has been playing insanely amazing. Bridget Carleton struggled in these finals. I think that will be fuel for betterness. But at the end of the day, just a impressive team effort. Shout out to Nira Sabali, 13 points in the game, 5 of 7, 7 rebounds.
She stepped up big time. Big
time. Came up doing the physical, important plays that the team needed when they needed it. Trying to think if there's any. Yeah.
No, and you look at Minnesota, you look at Nafisa Collier had 22, Kayla McBride 21. And then after that, it was like, Alana Smith had 6. Bridget
Courtney Williams struggled 2 for 14.
That's the biggest thing. It's like 2 for 14. At one point, it wasn't even in at the end of the game. You have a player that has played very, very well and in clutch moments, that just is a non-factor down the stretch. And anybody on Minnesota hits one extra shot. Hits a shot that they've been hitting throughout the course of the season. But even then, though, I look at the shooting percentage. Minnesota shot 37%. So they shot significantly better than the Liberty, but both teams struggled offensively. You look at the free throw line differential, though. Lynx shot 8 free throws compared to Liberty shot 25.
What it came like.
It is what it came down to. And everyone's like, "Well, where were your comments in Game 4?" Okay, well, Again, you're proving my point. I'm not sitting here fighting for Minnesota to win the champ. I don't have a dog in the fight. The point is the inconsistencies and post-game press conferences and comments from head coaches that are swaying this thing so freaking drastically that it's ridiculous. Okay, like you're proving my point when it comes down to that, and all we're asking for is some consistency across the board. Okay. Now, what I will say about Game 4 is the New York Liberty shot a ton. People don't want to hear this. A ton of 12 to 14 foot floaters away from the rim. When they did shoot layups, they were making a killing in fast break transition points, wide open looks at the rim, slip action to the rim, where Minnesota was out of place. There wasn't a lot of people around them. So I think in Game 4, New York got caught falling in love with that little mid-range contested jump shot. You can go right now, go back at it, look at the shot chart, and look at it for yourself. Okay, so at some point, free throws, but you do have to pay attention to shot selection and where is your team being aggressive enough around the rim? Is your team pounding it into the post against a bunch of defense and forcing shots? So that's why I'm like I need to go back. I have to go back with fresh eyes and watch this game and truly try to formulate in my mind, okay, man, it was not officiated correctly with Minnesota, or were they falling in love with that little 10-foot mid-range jumper contested shots? You're not getting to the free throw line if you're shooting those types of shots. So yes, we can criticize the referees as much as we want to, the inconsistencies. I think it's warranted, but we do have to pay attention to style of play and shot selection. You're shooting those shots, you're not getting to the free throw line. So that's on me to say I'm going to go back and watch that Game 5. I've already analyzed Game 4 and why the Liberty didn't shoot as many. So let me go watch Game 5, and at some point when we get back on the show, I'll tell you what I found and what my thoughts are. But clearly, there was a massive free throw differential. That is why coaches say we have to win the free throw line battle. If we make more free throws than the other team attempts, 90% of the time you're going to win that game. So what was it? Was it poor refereeing, or was it poor shot selection by the Lynx?
For me, I've reviewed it. I'll be curious when you do. I obviously look at any time it's going to be a mixture, right? And I agree with you on Game 4. We talked about that a lot. I don't know if it was on air, off air. But yeah, Minnesota was attacking the paint at times. To me, the shots that they were getting in the paint were physical, as we've seen throughout the series. And in this series, that's what for me is like we talk about even on both ends.
It was a very physical series.
A very physical series that we saw inconsistency in the calls for each team, like you said, based on post-game press conferences from the coaches. But then what we saw is inconsistency in what they were calling throughout the series. So it'd be like in game 1, 2, and 3, if you did this play and you were hitting that way, that's a call, you're going to the line. In games 3 and 4, or maybe in game 4, it wasn't, but in game 5, it was. You know what I mean? That's what it was, where I saw a lot of plays in game 5 that throughout the series would plainly be called, and you'd be going to the line, and they weren't being called. So I'm curious to see after you review your thoughts on that. I had some super intelligent thought to make, but then I got caught up in your rant. I loved it.
I feel better. I feel relieved after getting that off my chest.
No. I'm completely with you on that. Anybody had to step up. It's one more shot, but yeah, that's the craziness of basketball. That's the craziness of what went down. Is every stat statistically points in the direction that Minnesota should have won this game. And to me, you and I, and we'll end it on this. You and I did a crazy deep dive. We were looking at all the box scores, analyzing it from that perspective. And I think there's, a few different ways to analyze a game. There's the review of the actual style of play and where the shots are going off, shot selection, that. There's the box scores. We've done the box score one, and it was the free throws. It was purely the free throws. And that's what makes this such a head scratcher. And yeah, with the call, I think it was a clean play. I don't think it was a foul. And I think,
me neither.
Cheryl Reeve and Minnesota Lynx fan base is rightfully upset. Not about, again, I don't blame the ref for making the call. I disagree with the call. I don't think you make a call in that position on the travel or on the shot. I don't think you make that call. But I do think when you review it, you correct the call. I think when you review it, and that's the one thing that I will say towards the, and in my mind, a push against it being rigged is in some way. If you call, and in that game, if you reverse the call, it's a jump ball. We know what Minnesota's going to do. Minnesota's going to lane violation, so New York gets an inbound. New York has some. That's if they reverse the call, right? If they say it was clean, no one had possession. So that's where it gets interesting to me. And then New York still probably wins. I thought New York was going to win it too. But Rachel, I guess we got one player we have to pick for GOAT. I don't know.
No. First week we got some news. We got to tell people about our.
Oh yes. Good job. You want to tell them? Why don't you tell them?
I'm just so excited that after 8 years now, we're going to get Aria really, really honed and locked into women's college basketball. Like, you don't have a choice now. And I'm super excited about this. Like, I'm so proud of you. You did a little mock show earlier today. Like, we're going to be doing this. And so, yeah, we obviously, everyone knows we've been doing the little Bleacher Report shows throughout the WNBA season. They've come to us and asked us if we wanted to do a weekly top 25 show as soon as the AP poll drops every Monday. And so really, really excited to be doing that with you. You're going to have to be locked in. You're going to have to watch. You're going to have to be in the know. But yeah, just kind of, blending those worlds a little bit more together and having an opportunity to, talk about top WNBA prospects over the course of the season and, the top college games and performances, I think is going to be so fun. And it's only going to help you get better when it comes to, WNBA preseason and draft and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we will have a weekly AP top 25 show that we will be doing all season long, every Monday together. Thrilled to be upped with that and have that opportunity from Bleacher Report. I think that's going to be great.
Yeah, and probably for you listeners means we'll be talking more college basketball, probably doing some more episodes during the off season. Yeah, I've been dragging my feet. Rachel finally, bludgeoned me over the head and dragged me into the college basketball world. We'll get into it. And, bear with me as you hear, when we do the live streams, and I'm just shaking because there's more than double the amount of teams in a top 25 than there are in the WNBA, but we'll get there. It's baby steps.
We'll get there. Baby steps.
Rachel, I feel like we got to give JJ, in all of this, like that's the other thing I want to say before we end this. And I'm giving JJ Finals MVP. You get the GOAT end of the episode award, but I want to give JJ some love. A player who knocked on the door for many, many years, finally is broken down, is in the champion's castle. A remarkable career so far. She's done it overseas. She's done it in different levels, but now she's done it in the greatest basketball league in the world. And just super impressive. Any thoughts post to post about JJ in that Finals MVP?
Yeah, I'm not going to do a GOAT today. I'm just going to give shout out to the GOAT performance, I guess we could call it, of just Jonquel Jones, very deserving of MVP. Showed up and got it done when it needed to get done, because there was, some performances throughout the course of that series that were not going to get it done. And I think that's what makes New York so dangerous and so daunting, and why they're at the top of the standings, because of their weaponry. But then you've also got a player like Jonquel Jones who, yes, she can stretch the floor, she can shoot the ball, but did the little things, the dirty work of going down in the paint and controlling the paint against Minnesota for an entire series. So very deserving and super excited for her taking home that championship.